Hey guys, it's Imani,
And I'm Flex Alexander,
and welcome back to the Daddy Daughter Dance
the
Podcast.
podcast where we talk about all things father, daughter, and other things too. What's
Okay,
up, Pom? What's going on?
so this is more of like, I guess
You just
I
get
could
right to
say,
it, huh?
well, I have these three questions here.
Oh, okay.
This is more of like a family topic, I guess,
Okay. Okay.
slash career stuff,
Okay.
basically.
hmm
So this question is for you first.
For me, I'm good.
So, how has your career affected you as a father?
How has my career affected me as a father? Let me see. I feel it's in a positive way. It has. I've learned a lot, especially playing a dad on the show. It was on the job training because as soon as we started, you were there. Took your first steps on the soundstage. Um, how was it affect? I don't know if affected would be the word I would use. I would probably say like how it has kind of come together or ran parallel to my life. It literally was parallel. It literally was I'm raising somebody on TV, learning, raising you, never being a dad before, um, working obviously as a father, you want to provide. So when work is slow, that's the part of it that sucks. That's the part of it that you don't like. It's just a way of the system. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's up, it's down. So I think that part would probably be the part I dislike the most, is when things are slow. I'm not in the top 1% of the big stars, so I'm still tugging away and fighting, which is fine. So it's a different kind of grind. It's a different kind of go get itness. If that's a word. Um, and I just I feel it's made me a better father. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, was there anything or anyone that helped you on your career path, and what piece of advice helped you as a father?
Wow. Has anyone helped me on my career path? I've had several people help. I've had a bunch of mentors, even some that probably didn't know they were mentors. I remember being on the set of Martin in the beginning of his show. Um, and I remember when Jasmine was born, and I was watching him work, and and I was just like, man, and I'm literally sitting on this in the audience, and I'm like, I'm gonna have me a show one day. I'm gonna have me a show one day. And I remember sitting, he was his ex-wife now, but Pat, and I remember watching them. I was like, I'm gonna have a family. I'm gonna have my kids on set. I said this, and I remember him grabbing his daughter and kissing her, and everybody was like, oh, and I was just like, man, I remember that just fueling me and just loving, the way that looked, especially for us. That definitely was had a big impact on my life and my career. I don't know if I've ever really told him that. And then I was able to, after that, no, actually, before that, it wasn't even after that. It was before that. When I was living in New York, I was able to open for him. I opened for him doing stand up on several shows, and then it came to that. Then he got his show. I did Def Jam. Then he got his show. So I kind of was like right there, and he was that person. I was just like, man, like, there were others too. There was Will Smith. Will would give me nuggets and encouraging words, and I just watched Chris Rock. I watched him come up. I've seen him come through the comedy ranks, and there were a lot of my peers that really had an effect on me directly and indirectly. They didn't know. Now I've had just family or friends. I've had people that I really care about. They had more impact on me speaking and saying things to me that that pushed me. You know, I know for sure my grandmother was one of the people that she really wanted me to go school, get a degree. She was from the old school, you know, education. I don't think there's wrong with education, but she was just like get that paper, degree, and but I just had my sights set on this. I wanted to be an NBA player, but that didn't work out. And this was the thing that I really loved, comedy. And when I saw Delirious, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So my grandmother, I had an ex-managers, Kevin and Andre Brown. I have to give them credit from the Uptown Comedy Club, who taught me what comedy was, really how to be a full comedian. Because when I came, I just was doing impressions, and you know I didn't know how to structure jokes, and they taught me how to structure jokes, and they gave me a lot of nuggets. So I have to definitely say them. My boy Dougie Doug, who gave me my first shot on his first show. I had to win the role, but it was his show. Dougie Doug was managed by them as well. And I watched him, and I learned, you know, when he got his show, I just learned. I watched how, you know, he had to deal with the network, the studio, and so forth, and still be the star. And so those things I got to learn. Salt and Pepper, dancing for them, but also watching how they dealt with, you know, getting off of planes and having to go right to interviews after we could have had a 14-hour, 12-hour flight, and you got to get off, go right to the radio station, and they never complained. They always showed up, smiled, laughed, took all the pictures, everything. And I watched that. So they were a big impact. I had a lot of people. Gosh, who else? It's a lot of people, man. Fast forward a little bit. Who else? I'd say in this latter stage, my good buddy Chris Spencer, it's a really big impact on me getting back into stand-up, because I had taken a probably a 12, 13-year break. And then I would hang out with him, go to shows, and we'd joke and stuff. And he's like, yo, man, you funny. I'm like, oh, yeah. It's like, you gonna get back on stage? I'm like, ah. And at that time, it was fear, because I had stayed away from so long. And I was just like, man, am I going to have subjects to talk about? You know, am I going to be caught up to where everyone else is caught up to? Because stand-up is a muscle. You have to really exercise that muscle, because you can take yourself so out of the loop. But when I started going and seeing stand-up, I was like, wait a minute, they're not really talking about anything that deep, you know. And I talk about my family, friends, life stuff, and that really pushed me. And you know, I say it to him, but he don't really understand how much of an impact he was, because he would put me on shows with him, and he would get shows for me, get shows for us, and you know, put money in my pocket, and hey, move on, and just, you know, always, you know, have critique. Hey, do this, do that, boom, boom, and not that I didn't know how to do stand up, but it was just that reintroduction. He just really, you know, he was a strong, what do you call it? God, what is the word I'm looking for? It was a strong influence. Yeah, there we go. Strong influence for me getting back there. And not only that, in my writing and everything, because I had really kind of just been down on myself and writing and all that. And he really, this second half of my career, I definitely say he probably had the single biggest influence.
That's actually crazy. That's like so many people, but
it's a lot of people, and I'm sure it's people that I left out, and you know, but yeah, those are the people who really pushed the buttons that and gave me nuggets that I needed.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel that, because like there's so many people that are like inspiring, or like that you say that you're gonna, like, I'm gonna do that, like,
yeah,
you know, outside of just like family, because every time I say this, and then everyone's like, okay, but like, what about your parents? And I'm like, obviously that's like the first inspiration, but like you also find people that you watch on TV that you also feel inspired by in like a different way, like if that makes sense. Like of course you have like your family and like your parents, but like seeing people on TV or singing is like a different type of like inspiration, if that makes sense, because it's like I want to do that, or like I might want to, like I'm going in the same field but like in a different way, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. Like that's how I felt when I was young and I watched Good Times and I watched The Jeffersons and I watched all those shows. Seeing us on TV, I was amazed. I'm like what is this? I love this. Like that for sure. Watching all those shows, Facts of Life, watching Different Strokes, all those shows were definitely an inspiration and really planted that seed.
Yeah, I think like, well, you guys already know.
I already know the shows you.
Well, before like, no, honestly, you guys might be actually shocked. Before the
Baby
whole,
Mozart first.
before the whole Disney era, before that, because like I said, I was a part of the OG Disney. So before that, I think definitely watching. I think, well, again, there wasn't a lot of people of, color on my screen. People that like were me until a little bit later. But before that, the main things that I watched was definitely The Wizard of Oz, and
she would do the full out. She would do the scene. She would have a basket with the dog, dress up completely. She would try to include our dog Fiji at the time, but Fiji was like, "Yeah, I'm not. I'm chilling."
He was like, "No." Yeah, I think definitely The Wizard of Oz, and low key, honestly, like Shirley Temple. I remember having a stack of Shirley Temple like DVDs, and I think that was also something that was really inspiring. I was like, whoa, like, like I saw in a slight sense like myself in a way of like, okay, like that's something that I want to like do. And then as I got older, being able to see more movies and shows and then see more people that were like me was like, okay, like, yeah.
What do you call it? I think what do you call it had a big influence on you, China and McClain.
Oh yeah, we already said that in the one episode. For sure.
Right, yeah.
You guys already know Ant Farm, all those shows.
I remember those
that
days.
Was
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and
that.
Every person. The crazy thing is, I will say this. That's why I say be careful what you think of, what you put in your subconscious, and not be careful, but you can manifest anything. Almost every person she watched.
No,
manifest, and we met or was around. I'm serious. From Ariana Grande to having China and McClain, her sisters, her family in our home, to Fifth Harmony, like insane, like literally I was like, what in the heck? To Raven coming to her party, her 21st birthday. Like insane.
Like literally, I said this not too long ago. It happened, and it's not on no like oh my gosh, like I want, like it's not even that. I don't even think about meeting them. I just watch. Listen to their stuff.
You put yourself in.
I'm just inspired
into it, yeah.
And then it just happened.
It happened.
I never expected a lot of those things to happen, and then meeting them, they are like. Well, like, like they said, like they might have watched you guys, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's like,
it's so deep.
Yeah, that's actually crazy. Let me see. Okay, the last thing I have is about little lady Miss Shawnee's, little lady downstairs. So, because you guys were just talking about this on the podcast,
R&B Money.
The R&B Money podcast. So my question is. How did you? Well, I know this story, but for some that might. How did you guys meet, and how did you know that she was the one?
Okay, well, most people know because of the podcast and different interviews. But we met. I was moving into the building she lived in already. It was myself and cousin Ed.
That's crazy.
we were moving. Now this is gonna be real ghetto. Hold on. Hey, Gabby, we're shooting our podcast. We'll be downstairs in a minute. We're upstairs. We're shooting our show right now, podcast. We're upstairs. Y'all coming?
Yeah, I was just coming. I'm like, where is he coming? Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, you're on this episode now. Okay, bye. Bye. So, Yes, met her. I was moving in the building, myself and my cousin Ed, Grapevine.
Yes.
And she was coming out of the elevator. She was on her way to a Lauryn Hill concert. And
Period.
I was like, yo, what's up? I'm like, Shanice, Flex. We knew of each other. So I said, let me get your number. And she was like, all right, I'll be back. I got to go call my cousin because I'm waiting for her. So this was before putting it down on cell phones and all that. We had pagers. So she went upstairs and she took forever. And I left. I left. And 2 weeks later, I saw her again by the elevator. And I was like, all right, now. I waited for like a half hour, exchange numbers. We exchanged numbers, but I was not like, this is the one. I got out of a relationship. I didn't want to be with anybody at that point. And she was on the same page. We were like, no, 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 no. I mean, I would go to her apartment, sit and talk. She'd have on flannel pajamas with these cookie prints on them. They were awful. I threw them out when we got married. But um, yeah, there was not even that inkling of this is the one in the beginning at all. It was not until we talked all the time, joked and just had good conversation, and it was kind of like the first time I'd really done that. And one day it was just like I went to they had a birthday party where she used to live in California, area called Monrovia. So I went out there and hung out, and I just watched just everybody loved her. I just watched how everybody loves her and how she loved on everyone, and just was just such a light in the room. And that's I think for me when it started to go like it changed a little bit, and then this is so ghetto. Oh God, I can't answer it again. So then, and then she was rehearsing to go on tour with NSYNC. And I went by her rehearsal studio and I was talking to her and she walked me outside. And we always talked about soulmates and what that meant. And I said to her, I said, listen, you're always talking about your soulmate. I said, your soulmate could be staring you right in the face.
That is.
Yeah.
That
And I just left
is.
with that mic drop. And then I left. And I think that is when for her it changed too.
You said, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I could see her face. She was kind of like, and I think that's when it changed, and we have not had a day apart since.
That is
Yeah,
actually crazy.
it's crazy. I mean, we've had a day apart
Period.
working wise, but yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, yeah, and then we planned the wedding. Boom, married, and then the stork dropped you off. And Elijah off, and there we have it.
Yes.
And then that's the part too that I think is in my career because I remember when we shot the pilot and it didn't get picked up, and it was a year later on our anniversary that we were coming back from Santa Barbara, and then my manager at the time called and said, "Hey, they want to pick up one-on-one," and I was like, "Oh, whoa." And then, you were born because when they told us it wasn't, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm like, got a wife now, I got to provide. I'm like, what am I going to do? Then a year later, and then you came along, and it was like everything was, it was like with each birth, your brother, like great things happened. And it just, I don't know, it just all came together. I'm like, she's silly, I'm silly. And it just all came together, man. And then it just when all the years don't feel like long years, then because it feels like it's been 4 or 5 years, till you look at them and go like, wait a minute, they're grown, That's when you're like, wait a minute, it's been that long. Wow, 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 wow. But yeah, man. So and that's what we wish for you guys when you find your person that you just take your time, you just be friends, you have fun, and you'll know when there's no question about it. You'll know.
Period. Yes.
Anything else?
No, that's pretty much my main questions that I had for this. But yeah, I don't know if you had any other question, but
Let me I'll ask you a question. What is my impact as a father been on you?
Oh, I'm trying to think. So let me think. Are you talking about just like in general, like how I like?
I mean, in general, just it could be from the daddy daughter dances to just I don't know, see me balance fatherhood, entertainment, all that stuff. Yeah.
Um, I think like it shows. I guess how I would say like how I want to be as like a parent,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess I feel that like it's really like I know a lot of people might not have that,
Mm-hmm.
and just knowing that I have like obviously like you guys like that are parents that like care and that like listen to us and like
Mhm.
are always there for us and stuff like that. I think it shows, what is it like, it shows the strength, I guess I
Mhm.
would say, to like keep going
Mhm.
no matter what you might like face in life,
Right.
to know that you'll be okay, and
Mhm.
and just to try not to like talk negative. And I think that like between me and Elijah, I would say like I would say like I'm more similar to like you in the sense of like
Yes, for sure.
like just a certain
For sure.
like just certain things that I'm like,
Yes.
oh, like that's definitely like
Yeah, definitely.
so I think those things as well have like if I maybe how I deal with certain things or how I
Mhm.
might act with certain things, I could say that that's definitely been an impact. And just I guess like instilling good lessons and things like that to carry throughout life, whether if it's when it's time to have your own kids or your own place or
Mhm.
just friends, just like all type of
Pay your own bills.
yeah. I mean, well, I do pay my
Yeah, no, that's what
my
I'm saying. Yes, for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so I
Get
guess
the phone next.
I guess I guess I would say those are like the main things.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
say.
All right. Well, awesome. Awesome. You heard it right here first. But from straight from, I don't like to say a horse, but straight from the source's mouth, right here. Imani. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to leave comments. You can follow me, FlexA for Real, Instagram, TikTok, uh, Snapchat, and Flex Alexander on Facebook.
And then Imani with two eyes at the end. Music on everything.
Yes, and listen again. Share our page. Follow us. Follow us. The Daddy Daughter Dance Podcast right here. Please follow us. Send this to somebody. Create discussions. That's what we want this for. You know what I mean? If you're a single father out there, or if you're not a single father, family, whatever, sit down, check us out, tell a friend. All right. Until next time. It's all about that love.